God, guys, we were just driving in a bus and suddenly a piece of the mountain has dropped on the road, and fortunately no one was hit, but these big stones could really kill anyone, any size of a vehicle. This is Tajikistan, a country of deadly mountain roads. You probably heard nothing about this country, but they are building the Dubai of Central Asia in their capital Dushanbe. And this is weird, because Tajikistan is the poorest state in the region. We will travel across the country to get to Dushanbe and find out if this is really the future Dubai. Oh my god, what's going on? Thus the trip to Tajikistan began. We were in the bus to Dushanbe, and suddenly a piece of rock fell on the road in front of us. And just by luck, nobody was hit. Very quickly a tractor appeared and began to clear the rubble. However, I doubt that he will cope with the task at all. The stones are so big and I'm not sure that the tractor will be able to remove them quickly, so it seems that we are stuck here. A large traffic jam formed and people got out of their cars. Locals say that landslides usually occur in winter.
We usually have avalanches. Do you know what they are?
Yes, it's snow. What about stone landslides?
This is very rare.
Tajikistan is the second most mountainous country in the world. Just think about it. 92% of its territory is covered by mountains. This is more than in Switzerland or even Nepal. Mountain road construction is very expensive, and there are few roads in Tajikistan. They don't have enough money to protect all roads from landslides. And this landslide happened on unprotected part. Look, even now the mountain keeps crumbling. The worst part is that stones keep falling down, and it's very unsafe for the tractor driver. I hope everything will be okay. While the tractor is working, the traffic jam is getting bigger. As this is the most important road in the country, it connects the north and south of Tajikistan. Most foodstuffs are brought to Dushanbe along this road. So every minute of delay is a serious problem for the capital provision. We've been waiting already for 40 minutes, and it's still unclear whether it will be possible to clear the rubble, because the largest rock is twice the size of the tractor and cannot be moved. But apparently the driver is experienced. The tractor cracked the stone in two and moved it aside, and then dropped it to the river. As a result, it took about an hour to clear the road. And finally, the huge traffic line was able to move on, and we could continue our trip. The purpose of our trip is to see Dushanbe, which is by locals considered the Dubai of Central Asia. But we will go there last, because it's impossible to understand a country only by its capital. Therefore, first we're gonna visit villages and other cities and look at how people live there. Our first stop will be a mountain village. In Tajikistan, they call it kishlak. So guys, now we are going to kishlak. So it is really fully packed, as you can see. These are the locals from the village, from kishlak. We are coming with them for less than $1. These minivans are called here marshrutka, and it's a very cheap but slow means of transportation. We rode to the village for almost 3 hours, but what we saw was totally worth it. We hadn't even walked for 5 minutes in the kishlak when a local invited us for tea.
Would you like some tea?
Sure. We didn't expect such hospitality but agreed to visit. While we were walking, he told us that he keeps an apiary and sells honey. His family was at home, but it seems that his wife wasn't expecting guests.
Come in, don't be shy.
Is this your living room?
Yes, we live here.
Note that there is almost no furniture. Instead of chairs and beds, there are mattresses. And instead of a tablecloth on the floor. If it weren't for the old TV in the corner, I'd think that we were in the 19th century. We are in a family in Kishlak, and they also invited us to drink tea, offered us different entertainments like some nuts, dried fruits. But they themselves usually don't eat such products. When we came, they ate simple food: flatbread, scrambled eggs, self-produced honey, and apricots from the garden. Only for guests, they keep sweets that they bought in the city. How many children do you have?
9.
Wow! 9 children! Congratulations! This is a typical family for Tajikistan. It's common here to have many children. It was nice to be in the house, but we had to get going, so we thanked them and continued our walk around the kishlak. Oh my god, I can't describe it with my words, but this is so authentic here, so beautiful and alive. So you see here they constructed very simple fences, but even they look nice here. I don't know, really everything creates a special atmosphere here. The mountain kishlaks are very beautiful. Near each kishlak there is a mountain river with clear water. Mountains are visible from everywhere. It's just a pleasure to be here. When I'm walking here in kishlaks, I'm meeting so many locals, and they are all beautifully dressed. I would really love to take a lot of videos with them and pictures to show you, but the problem is that they are Muslims and don't like to be filmed, so this is a problem. Yeah, and you see, this is how kishlak looks like. This is like a standard kishlak in the mountains. It was so interesting to have a walk around the kishlak that we didn't even notice how we came to the lake. There we met the locals washing a carpet. Oh my god, the water is so cold, like freezingly cold. And I can't understand how they are staying inside the water for such a long time. The guy who was washing the carpet was in the water maybe for 15 minutes. Just imagine. It is cold, really. Yes, life in the kishlak is hard. People have to do all the work by hand. Even animal feed they have to carry on their back. Like this woman with a heavy bale of hay. Look how hard she's walking. An hour later, we reached the next kishlak. There we met a group of tourists from Tajik cities. I asked a girl how Islam influences the behavior of women in the rural areas. The traditions are so strict here. If a man drives by in a car, women don't look at them. They don't even look in their direction and just turn away. That is their manners. I've noticed that in the previous kishlak, most of the houses are made of stones, but here different materials are used. The houses are made of a mat with hay. As you can see here, it's not a durable material and they have to renew it, I guess, maybe every several years. While I was looking at the clay houses, a man came up and told us about the life of his fellow villagers.
There are animals in this barn, but they themselves live in this house.
What do they live on?
They are engaged in livestock farming. Look, how many fields there are here. They have goats and cows grazing there. Some people go to Russia for work.
Is there any public transport to the city?
There is a bus stop here. In the morning, people gather here and go to the city.
So, the minibus gets here.
Yes, it's already returned and parked over there. In the morning, the minibus goes to the market and returns back at 4 o'clock.
How much does a ticket cost?
50-60 somani.
Expensive.
Because the road is difficult, mountainous.
But it's expensive for local residents.
Yes, that's why they travel rarely and buy a lot of products at once. Flour, potatoes, onions, everything is brought in big bags. Here no one buys for the day. There is always something for future use.
Now it's clear why the minibus yesterday was so busy. Trips to the city are very expensive for the kishlak residents, so they travel rarely and buy a lot. Is it cold here in winter?
Yes.
How many degrees?
20 degrees below zero.
How do they heat their clay and stone houses?
They use coal. Look here. Behind this mountain, there is a quarry with coal. They bring it from coal mine and sell it here.
Are there special ovens for this at home?
Yes, of course.
Locals prepare for winter not only fuel, but also food. For example, we saw how they harvest apricots. In fact, they dry them on the roof. The sun completely evaporates the moisture, and apricots can be stored for a long time. And later, in autumn or winter, they can eat these dried apricots and other dried fruits. There, in the kishlaks, we were invited to see how they cook the Tajik national dish top. This dish you can try only in Tajikistan. In my opinion, in Tajikistan, the tastiest dish is top, and this is the process how it's cooked. First, they prepare dal. So, as you can see, this is a very thin layer of dal. We were shown how to prepare a vegetarian version of top. I even helped a little. First, we had to make the dough and bake the buff pastries. While we were waiting for the flatbreads to bake, we chopped onions and herbs and prepared the fermented milk product chaka. We are throwing these flatbreads into small pieces. Actually, it's very hot, but I think the women here are used to do that. After that, we put everything in a huge wooden plate and poured boiling butter on top. The cooking took about an hour in total, and we sat down to eat. Before having the meal, we need to wash hands. They're saying that this is a master way to wash your hands. But it looks nice. Thank you. But this is a cute ritual, right? Okay, time to try. But I know it's gonna be so tasty. That's the best top in the whole Tajikistan. I really like the kishlaks. Yes, they have a hard life there, but at the same time, people preserve Tajik traditions. And if you want to understand what Tajikistan is, you need to visit kishlaks for sure. We wanted also to understand city life in Tajikistan, so we went to the city of Penjakent and visited there the area with Tajik traditional houses. And then we were invited for tea too. Look how big the houses are.
Come in, feel free. I will make tea now.
Thank you. What a beautiful yard you have. By tradition, several families live in such houses, and namely families of adult children with their parents. Just like in kishlaks, there is almost no furniture, and they sit on the floor. This is kind of a living room where they sit on these special thick carpets. I would even say that these are like mattresses. They sit here and drink tea or eat. So here are the cups, traditional cups in Tajikistan, and also the same type of cups are in Uzbekistan and some other Central Asian countries. And here they even prepared some sweets for guests. If someone comes, here is everything ready for them. According to a tradition, Tajiks must always be ready to welcome guests. So treats for tea should be prepared in every house. I have some dried fruits and nuts. I've taken some nuts. Otherwise, it's considered impolite if they offer you some food and you say no.
Here we have another room, the largest. Come in. 35 people can be here.
So they sleep on mattresses here?
Yes. This is a special room for guests.
Actually, this man used to live here, but now he comes to Tajikistan as a guest. He became a citizen of Russia a long time ago. He entertained us with tea and after gave a short tour around his neighborhood. In Tajikistan, they call it a mahalla. How often do these fences need to be repaired?
Everyone does as much as possible. This one should have been repaired a long time ago. What does it mean? That people left to work.
Almost in every family in Mahalla, someone left for work abroad.
This is my younger brother's house. Only his daughter and wife remained here. He himself is in Russia, working as a truck driver.
Everyone left for Russia.
Well, what else to do? There is no work here. 3 guys I know in Voronezh make shawarma, all because there is no work here.
There are really big problems with employment in Tajikistan. 1,300,000 able-bodied people have to work abroad. It's almost 40% of the population. The main destination for work is Russia. Therefore, it's no wonder that the Russian language is very common in Tajikistan. Many Tajiks speak Russian fluently. In Tajikistan, in many places you can see inscriptions in Russian, posters and banners in Russian, and even here, this is like a mall, a supermarket, and there are many words in Russian. Even people in the streets speak Russian. And that is not because the country used to be a part of the USSR. The main reason why almost everyone can speak Russian here is that a lot of people from Tajikistan migrate to Russia for work, and a lot of people from here moved to Russia, and some of them even received the Russian citizenship. I often met people who became Russian citizens. For example, these old people in the kishlak.
This is a citizen of the Russian Federation. I am also a citizen of the Russian Federation. Here is a Russian passport. This is the grandson who stayed in Russia. I have 2 sons in the city of Novokuznetsk. I will now receive a pension from Russia.
For Tajiks, obtaining Russian citizenship is a way up, which is why a huge number of people are trying to become Russian citizens. In 2022, 175,000 Tajik citizens became Russian citizens. This is an overwhelming number for a small country like Tajikistan. It's impossible to imagine Tajikistan without a bazaar. The bazaar is the center of life. People still come here to do shopping rather than buy online. Here you can find everything you need: food and building materials, clothes and household chemicals. However, bazaars have a huge drawback for an unprepared person. If you want to buy anything at the bazaar, you need to haggle here, because this kind of a tradition to haggle before buying, because the seller says a higher price and you need to decrease it. Most sellers at the bazaar don't specify prices, and you need to ask and then bargain. But to tell the truth, for me it's very tiresome. I don't like it. In addition to the bazaar building, people trade in the square in front of it. In the middle of the day, there are not so many sellers here, and it seems that the trade is sluggish. But look what happens here at night! I've showed you this place during the daylight, and look at this in the evening. It's fully crammed. So many people. Trade is very active. A local merchant explained the reason. What time do you work here?
Around the clock.
So someone buys at night?
Yes, we sell mainly at night. There are no buyers during the day.
Do they mainly come at night?
Yes, it's very hot during the day.
So they can come even at 2 or 3 in the morning?
Yes, they even come by sunrise.
Why don't people sleep here at night?
Why don't they sleep? But during the day it's very hot. It's hard to stay outside.
At Bazaars you can buy usual goods and also some weird stuff like naswar. I often notice people spitting on the streets in Tajikistan, and as it turned out, they were chewing naswar. And this is exactly what they spit out. This is called naswar. This is kind of tobacco mixed with slack lime. They put it like here. Then they take a piece of naswar and put it under upper or lower lip. And when nicotine is absorbed in oral mucus, they just spit out what's left. While I was clumsily showing how they consume naswar, the man couldn't stand it and decided to show himself. Do you like chewing naswar?
Yes, I really like it. Very good for the brain.
What? For brain? In fact, he's wrong. And naswar is a very harmful substance that has a bad effect on the brain and destroys the body, like all other addictive substances. But people buy it and consume it instead of cigarettes because naswar is very cheap. They sell it in these plastic bags, and one bag costs just one money, which is maybe 10 cents, something like that. So it's pretty cheap. After we saw how people live in the cities and kishlaks of Tajikistan, it's time to visit Dushanbe, the capital of the country. From the very first glance, I noticed its oddity. When you walk around the capital of Tajikistan, you feel that this city was designed to show off. Just look at all these pompous buildings and their scales. If you ask the locals, many of them will point out that Dushanbe is the Central Asian Dubai, or at least the city tries to look like it.
Of course, our people like to brag that we have the biggest flag and etc. They have probably already told you about our records.
Yes, the largest mosque, the largest flag, the largest market in Central Asia, right?
Yes, but it's not true. However, the government is trying.
Behind me you can see the flagpole of Dushanbe, which is indeed very tall. Now it's the highest flagpole not in the world, but the highest in Central Asia. Well, yeah, in the 21st century some countries still compete not in the quality of education or medicine, but in the height of their flagpoles, which is interesting. But some locals like this building.
The highest flag, I think it's ours. Its height is 165 meters.
Are you proud of the flag?
Imagine that the whole world knows that Tajikistan has the highest flag. The highest is Central Asia.
What do you think about it? Are you proud?
Of course, we're proud.
To match the flagpole, they made a park. But you know, this area near the flagpole, it's actually the park. But it seems to be so deserted now. There are almost no people here. I don't know why, maybe because it's too hot. But really, look, it's empty. There is no one. In addition to the highest flag, Dushanbe has other so-called records. So this palace used to be the largest chaykhana or tea house in the world, but recently they turned it into an entertainment center, and now there is cinema here, there is a hall for bowling, and also a restaurant. But it's no longer the largest tea house in the world, because there were simply not enough visitors. So the chaykhana was turned into a mall. To be honest, I cannot describe the center of Dushanbe as cozy and convenient. There are huge distances between buildings, and you have to walk miles to reach a destination. It seems that in the pursuit of records, the center of Dushanbe lost its authenticity and turned into soulless trees with gigantic, pompous buildings. And here is another new record in the city, which was opened recently. The largest mosque in Central Asia was built here. So here is the mosque. It can accommodate more than 130,000 people at once. Just imagine the scale. So basically, you can put a population of some city on the territory of this mosque, which is really incredible. This is indeed a very large and richly decorated mosque. But Tajikistan would not have had enough money for such a building. So the mosque was built mainly with the money from Qatar. And despite its enormous size, it's not the largest mosque in the world. It's not even the largest in Central Asia. But for Dushanbe, where only 1 million people live, the mosque is too large. So this mosque can accommodate almost 15% of the inhabitants of the city, which is really a lot. And when I was inside, there were not so many visitors. And even now, during the prayer time, as you can see, there are not so many people coming. Even on the two main Muslim holidays, not enough people gather in the mosque to completely feel it. At the same time, $500 million must be spent on maintenance every year. And this is a lot of money for a country like Tajikistan. Because the government could spend this money on education, medicine, or even the maintenance of the existing mosques in the city. In general, about 30 years ago, Dushanbe was a very nice, cozy and green city with low-rise buildings. Look at the pictures of Soviet Dushanbe, a completely different place. If you look at the pictures of Dushanbe 30 years ago, you would understand that the city has changed drastically. For instance, here in the city center, there used to be 2 or 3 story Soviet buildings, like this one. You see that beautiful building? And now, in their place, there are modern, multiple story houses like this. But you know, there is nothing special about these houses. You can see them in many other cities. And at the same time, the unique Soviet appearance of the city is almost completely destroyed. And that is really sad because that was part of the history of Tajikistan. Dushanbe residents have different points of view about rebuilding. Someone has regrets like me.
Dushanbe is a Soviet city. It was built with love, and it was unique. There was a cinema here, it was called Jami. It was a meeting place for all young lovers. I met there myself many times. Now there is almost nothing left. They built skyscrapers like boxes, similar to one another. I don't like it. Here was a beautiful arched house. It was a unique building, and it was also demolished. There were many beautiful buildings here. And 20 years ago, they began to demolish everything, despite our protests, despite our pleas. Of course, now I have a depressing impression about the changes.
But someone is happy with the changes.
I think that Dushanbe is the best city in Central Asia.
Were you sorry that all Soviet buildings were demolished?
Of course not. We must keep up with the times. What kind of buildings are there in America? 100-story houses? Or in China? They built 150 floors and more. We have 26, 30-story houses so far.
So there should be higher houses.
Yes, we need to build higher, if possible.
But wait, you have earthquakes.
Indeed. But we believe in Allah. As we say, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
In general, in Dushanbe, many records and new tall buildings are being built by the Chinese. They literally construct everything here. For instance, here, there used to be a gorgeous Soviet building. But several years ago, they demolished it, and now they're building a new house with the help of a Chinese company. And I'm sure that it will be a pompous building, but not historical. Locals explain their concerns.
Previously, there was a building of the Central Committee here, a very beautiful Soviet building. All the residents feel sorry that it was destroyed.
To build this house, right?
Yes, they wanted to construct something new. The Chinese are building it for us. They say it's help, but I really doubt that this help is free of charge.
However, in some areas of Dushanbe, you can still see what the city looked like before. Some Soviet buildings have somehow survived until today. Oh my god, guys! This is just so awesome! And this is not a palace, but look at it! It's so beautiful! Like, really piece of art. So this is not a palace, actually it's a tea house that looks like a palace. You see, there are a lot of decorations inside, and here on both sides there are beautiful mosaics. This is the main chaykhana in the city. Chaykhana means like a tea house, but you can drink not only tea here, actually you can try traditional Tajik food here as well. That's how chaykhana in Tajikistan work. I mean, they are not for tea, they are also for food. At the moment of the video publication, this place still exists. But as locals said, the government was going to demolish this chaykhana. They are going to build a modern construction instead of this historical place and the symbol of Dushanbe and whole Tajikistan. You know, my soul pains when I am telling you about this because I can't believe that. I can't believe how the authorities of this city can destroy the beauty of this city. It's just, it blows my mind. It's just beyond me. I cannot accept it. I'm gonna cry. You know, this chaykhana could be the main restaurant in the city where all tourists from all over the world would want to eat or to drink tea. And really, it could be a place for crowds of tourists, but instead I just decided to get rid of it because this place still has potential to be one of the main attractions in the city that would attract tourists from all over the world. And instead, Dushanbe has decided to construct like a mediocre Chinese city here with modern buildings that you can see everywhere in the world. There is nothing unique in them, nothing. And here I am staying and trying to remember every piece, every detail of this amazing place, and still can't believe that it will not exist in several months. It's a tragedy for the city. It's a tragedy. In Dushanbe, the center was especially damaged. Many gorgeous buildings were and are still being demolished. However, the outskirts of the city still preserve local authenticity and color. This is how an ordinary district in the outskirts of Dushanbe looks like. Here there is drying clothes, in the middle there is parking and some kind of a courtyard. And at first glance it may seem that this is just some shabby district. But if you take a few steps back, you'll understand that this is actually a very beautiful place because there are still preserved Soviet mosaics on these houses, which really look gorgeous. And it's not just a single house with this beautiful mosaic. Here there are many of them on that side. It creates a special atmosphere here. And it's really good that all these houses are outside the city center. Otherwise they would have been already removed and in their place new modern buildings but have already been built. It's much more interesting to have a walk in the old outskirts than in the modern center of Dushanbe, since here you can see how people live and feel the authenticity of the place. Here, for example, women wash carpets on the street, just like in kishlaks. The carpets dry right here on the streets. They literally hang everywhere. Here the ladies wash dishes and shoes on the streets. This is what a local store looks like. And this is how additional balconies are constructed. A very common practice, because everything is possible in Tajikistan. Here are the women in traditional outfits carrying home bags full of bread and food. There are a lot of children playing in the courtyards. In general, the streets are so busy and there is a lot to see. In the Soviet times, architects were very limited in their creativity to design projects for houses, because there were very strict rules in the Soviet architecture, and almost all houses in the Soviet Union had to look similar. Maybe because through the architecture they also tried to unite different territories in the Union. But sometimes some architects managed to introduce some kind of variety into their designs, like here. As you can see, they added some reliefs on the walls, and it really looked nice. And it would look even nicer if they refreshed these colors here. So this is a really good example of the Soviet architecture. However, despite the destruction of the historical heritage, there are still pleasant places in the center of Dushanbe. In fact, in Dushanbe there is one place which I especially like, this avenue. And this is just awesome. Here you can understand what the city looked like before, in the Soviet times and in 1990s, before the massive rebuilding here. Of course, this place could have looked much better, with fewer advertising posters and thinner roads, but at least here you can feel the history of the city.
We could develop tourism here. You can live well off tourism. But not everyone understands this yet.
When people here understand it, everything will be demolished.
Yes, it will be too late.
I really think that they should have preserved the historical Soviet buildings here and built this kind of houses outside it, outside historical part, so that they would preserve the history. To be honest, I can't call Dushanbe the Dubai of Central Asia. Yes, there are record-breaking buildings here, but there is no respect for history and almost no beautiful modern architecture. It seems that Dushanbe destroyed its beautiful heritage in vain. I'm really sorry for the city. I think that after this video I will get a lot of criticism from the citizens of Tajikistan for the fact that I speak about their capital in such a way. But actually I truly love Tajikistan and I care what's going on here. This concludes the story about the contrast of Tajikistan. The next video will be from a country with the most difficult fate in which I've been. And this is Sudan. I managed to see it a month before the disaster, another civil war. I traveled through the entire country from north to south and managed to fly out of the capital. And in the next video, I will show you how common people live there a few weeks before the war. If you like the videos I make, subscribe to my channel. There will be more videos about traditions and life in different countries. In the meantime, watch the videos that have already been released on my channel. See you!